Hey there guys, how's it going? And thanks for checking out this video. Today's video I want to be talking about problems in Ark, and more specifically Ark PvP, and the reasons for my current frustrations with how it all is. Now, I'm doing this from the perspective of someone who absolutely adores Ark. You guys know me by now. You know I absolutely love Ark. I think when it's all right and when it's all working, it's the best game out there, no doubt. It's got the biggest potential, and it's the kind of game that I've always wanted. And also, to go along with that, I think that most of you guys would agree, I'm someone that normally sees the best in things. I'm generally an optimist. I generally like to look into the best in things. I like to see the best in things and people until proved otherwise. And I'm not normally the kind of person to do like a ranty style video or something like that. So don't think this is just someone who's just sat here, just wants to blow off a bit of steam because they're suddenly frustrated with Ark. These are all things I've been thinking about for a long time and considered, and not only do I consider these problems, but I consider how they could be countered. You know, I'm a realist as well, and I like to think about things that are feasibly possible, not just, oh, why don't they do this, you know, something which is just not feasible whatsoever. So I've put it into 9 different sections at the moment. Maybe I'll think of a 10th was in this video, but I've put that in the title as well, because one thing that's interesting, guys, I don't know if you guys know, but I found that people are more likely to check something out if you say it's like 9 problems with Ark or 10 problems with Ark, rather than just saying the problems with Ark. That's a little bit of psychology for you guys, but those of you who would have pressed the video anyway, you guys are absolute beasts. But those of you who want to hear some specific reasons, let's get into them from the start. Now, the first one is also kind of linked to the second one. The first, biggest, by far the hugest problem right now with Ark, PvP especially, I don't know about PvE, I haven't been playing it, is the Ddosing. The Ddosing is out of control right now. Now, I've spoken to the Ark devs before about the Ddosing problems, and realistically, the way they host the game now, there's always going to be that danger of DDoSing, and even with good protection against DDoSing, there is obviously still going to be ways to do it. And for the most part, unless people have access to huge networks of computers to be able to serve a DDoS, they're paying for the privilege to do so. So some people are out there paying lots of money to DDoS servers. Now, you might be wondering, what's the point in DDoSing servers? Obviously, there's a few reasons someone might do it. They might just want to be vindictive, and they might want to just knock servers offline from people that raided them or people they don't like. They also might just enjoy, you know, DDoSing servers randomly, whatever, you know. Obviously, there's all kinds of people out there who get kicks all different kinds of ways. And the third reason, which is also linked to the second big problem in Ark, is that DDoSing is linked to duping. Now, I guess I'll move into the second point here, in that duping is a huge problem now in Ark PvP for a couple of reasons. Number one, a lot of people now know how to do it. Before, it was always a bit of like secret squirrel, what's the new technique, bloody blah. But now I figured out that almost every big alpha tribe knows how it's done. Word spreads fast, and either can do it or can benefit from it. And the game has just turned into, at the end of Ark, which alpha tribes can DDoS and dupe the most, and then when they attack people, DDoS the server, DDoS their own server, roll back. It is such a massive mess at the top end, or at the end game of Ark PvP at the moment, that I'm going to suggest something at the end of this video that I wouldn't have thought of at the beginning. So yeah, duping is a problem. Even if you don't dupe, you probably know how to dupe, and even if you have no interest in duping, you're probably affected by the DDoSing that happens, which is encouraged by the ability to duplicate things. Not only that, but if you don't DDoS as well, and you don't dupe, there's so many tribes that you will raid or raid you have duplicated gear, like ridiculous amounts of perfect level gear, like crazy amounts, guys. I don't know if some of you don't involve yourself with the alpha tribes and the biggest alliances, but there is so much ridiculous gear out there that I think it's just gone too far. It's just gone way too far, and it's become a part of the meta, which obviously I think, well, some people might want, but I do not think is healthy for the game at all. We'll come back to that in a minute. Next up, optimization. Optimization is a huge problem in Ark, in my opinion. Now, there have been times where I think Ark's been running pretty well, and I don't know if it's just the updates, but it seems to be running worse than ever. Now, console isn't too bad. It's not great. There is lots of frame rate problems, even with me on my PS4 Pro. They really should add the ability to turn down some settings on the PS4 and on the console so that you can get better frame rates. Either that or make it a little bit worse. It's not worth making the game look a little bit better to sacrifice the frame rates of people. But really, the two biggest factors for lag at the moment on console are render lag, which is when things render in as you approach them. So if there's a big building rendering in as you approach it, your game will stutter. Now, obviously in big bases or areas with lots of buildings, that's a huge problem. Just moving around areas will mean that you are constantly rendering things in and out, and that is all processing power that you're finding difficult. So that's render lag. That's like your side, like client side. The other big problem is Dinos. Dinos are still a huge cause of frame rate lag. Like, not only are the names a problem, which now you can take out, which is kind of good, but the movement animations of the Dinos causes the lag. Any of you that have got a large amount of Brontos, for example, will know those huge swinging tails just cause your game to chug, chug, chug along. They need to do something about this. Now, I'm not sure if there's anything that can feasibly be done because of the type of engine that Ark runs on, but it's got to be addressed, because one thing that would make this game a lot better, like hugely better, is the ability for a stable 60 FPS or even a stable 30 FPS all the time. Imagine any huge raid you're on, any amount of dinos in your game, stable FPS constantly. It just adds so much to the experience. It makes Ark a place you want to be, a place you can enjoy. And for me, that's part of Ark. I love like adventure style games, survival games, so I love being in the environment. Obviously some of these maps are beautifully designed, great landscapes, they look really, really nice, some of the textures are just incredible, and it's just a nice place to be. But add the frame rate to that and it just becomes a mess. It just spoils the whole experience. So that again is a major thing. Like, for me, that would be a top priority. Now, I don't know the best ways to fix it. Obviously, if you're on PC, you lower shadows, you get rid of all the ground clutter you can. And another thing I would suggest is having the ability to have like dinos not do the animations that they do. I know they would look a bit stupid, just frozen there, as if they were in ice. But at the same time, just minimize the animations, you know, so there's not so much movement going on your screen as you're walking around. Next up, let's talk about the bosses. The bosses are a bit of a mess, to be honest with you. Now, as you would have seen in my previous videos, the real, I guess, way to do the bosses is to just cheese them, which means either finding an area where they can't hit you, trapping them or something like that. There's got to be a better way to do this. There's got to be a better way to get element, because that's the reason we do the bosses. Unlock the tech and get the element. Now, in my opinion, you could either get rid of the bosses or completely revamp what the bosses are. Possibly they could be like a think of COD Zombies, where you have waves of dinos that are all beatable but hard to beat, instead of just some mega colossus boss which is just absolutely ridiculous if you don't cheese it, you know, just impossible. You would have seen when I took my like 15 plus super high level Rexes into the Megapithecus and it just smashed them as if they were nothing, you know. No wonder people have been cheesing them. And the problem with patching the cheeses, or I guess not really glitches, but with you know, patching these easy to do our boss fights, is that a lot of people have already done them. So all you're doing is punishing the people that haven't done them already. And I'm saying severely punishing, because if you haven't got Tech Rex saddle and all the tech saddles unlocked and the tech rifle and the force field and the transmitter, if you don't have them unlocked, good luck dealing with Ark at the end game meta, because you need all of that stuff to compete against the people who already have them unlocked. So The bosses are a massive mess for me at the moment. The only way people do them is they glitch them or they trap them. There is a very, very, very small possibility that you can do them in more legit ways, but again, it's just not really feasible. Way too much risk to reward, and not the way to do it in my opinion. I would prefer, like I said, if there was some kind of trial. Imagine this. Now, this is just an idea that obviously could have huge implications, but imagine instead of like going to a boss fight, you went into like an SOTF style fight, and the winner of the SOTF tournament gets the element. Unbelievable. Now, obviously, there's all kinds of problems with that in terms of people could fix it and whatever, but that's just a suggestion. Just like my suggestion that perhaps you could have waves of dinos come at you. Starts off with like 20 Dillos, then 30 T-Rexes, and then whatever, you know, and make the boss arenas a bit more interesting. Have traps in them. Like, think about COD Zombies. I know it's a weird thing to think, but yeah, have all kinds of traps that you can set off. Allow you to craft more interesting things to have in the boss fights. Make them have all kinds of crazy events to them. Think of God of War when you're taking down one of those big behemoth things, you know, that you jump on it and then you start stabbing it in the face and all that. That would be epic. Just something to think about, and because element is such an important thing in endgame Ark, I think it's something that really needs a lot of attention. The next big problem, the salt. The salt in the Ark community is completely toxic. Now, of course, not everyone is as toxic as each other, and everyone gets mad sometimes, and everyone, like, you know, says something about the other tribes and gets a bit, you know, a bit of back and forth. You know, that's all normal, but this game makes all of your gear and everything you have so important that it encourages the soul. It encourages the super like aggressive behavior to each other, like the insults, the threats. Like, it's on another level to other games out there, you know. People get so caught up in it, but you know, the Ark devs have made it that way because they've made your stuff so hard to get, and they've made your stuff mean so much to you. On one side, it's good in terms of it is fun. It makes the game more intense and more hardcore. But on the other side, I don't think everyone who wants to PvP in Ark is okay with that. So what are the ideas to get rid of it? Well, there's two very simple ideas. People who want to PvP and don't want to be involved in the Assault could either play Survival of the Fittest, or they could play Extinction. Now, first of all, Survival of the Fittest has gone down the pan, so that's that over and done with. It wouldn't take a huge amount of the Ark budget, I'm sure. I mean, we all know how many copies this game has sold and how small the studio is, to have a dedicated team on Survival of the Fittest who knows what they're doing. Or, obviously, like I just said, Extinction. Now, what I find strange is that Extinction has obviously been dead ever since they introduced PGMs, which, if you don't know, that's procedurally generated maps. Ever since they introduced those, Extinction has been in dead. They're completely broken, for one. Number two, it's not fun having a completely broken experience. Number three, the spawns are messed up. They don't have the drops laid out. They don't have, like, the proper stuff you need. Like, it's just not viable for a PvP game to have a procedurally generated map. If we're talking Minecraft and it's a bit simpler and it's PvE, that's fine. But in a PvP game, you cannot have procedurally generated and make it an enjoyable experience. I find it ironic how the devs bang on about how awesome some of these maps are that are being designed. Like the Ragnarok map. The devs have just done such an incredible job with the map. So, well, why? Why does that matter when apparently you can make a great map by just pumping in a load of random numbers and just seeing what happens? Like, they know that a good map is one that has been worked on. It's balanced. It has different biomes that actually work and are interesting and good to look at. It's a nice place to be. It's a cool environment. It has hidden secrets. It has well-balanced resources. They know that makes a good experience. So why punish the Extinction crowd? I can guarantee you the Extinction crowd would be absolutely jam-packed if they brought back regular servers. We used to absolutely adore the island when we used to play Extinction. It was super fun. We did primitive, we did normal. Every month we would all look forward to a brand new experience. No transferring, so you know, those who dedicated to a server, that was it. The salt was pretty minor, you know, everyone on there knew what they were getting into, and if it all went wrong after a couple of weeks, you got wiped off. What do you know, in 2 more weeks you can have another go, start all over again. Please Wildcard, please bring back Extinction on normal maps, even if it's just the island. Please, I beg you, I will play it. I will make many YouTube series on it. I will promote the absolute crap out of it. It is really the ideal PvP Ark scenario, in my opinion, for how the game is right now. Next up, I can tell in my tone of my voice I'm getting a little bit ranty right now, but I feel passionately about this, guys, and you guys should too, and so should the devs. This is an experience unlike any other in video gaming. Like, let's be honest, that's why you're watching this video, because you know that. Let's talk about the changes that are made. Now, I guess I don't really mind the changes, you know. Sometimes changes aren't going to be ideal, like the flyer nerf needed to happen, but you know, obviously there's a bit of debate as for how you could have changed it. In my opinion, the Quetzal should have been made maybe 125% locked at maximum speed. 100% on a Quetzal is way too slow. I would love for the devs who decided to do that to come and join me for a metal run on the center with 100 speed Quetzal. I would love that. No wonder people are trying to dupe. No wonder people are trying to cheese metal and all this kind of stuff, when it just becomes absolutely ridiculous to go out there and do just a metal run, just to have some resources in a reasonable amount of time, no less. But that's just one change of the possible changes. Really, my overall thought with this point is that it really feels like the changes are made by people who do not play the game the way the audience plays the game. Now, I understand Wildcard are going to hire devs that do multiple things. They've got to get their value for money out of their employees. They're going to be doing you know, checking things. They're going to be doing like testing here and there. They can't just play the game all day and like absorb themselves into the game, but they really should have a bigger insight into it, or at least maybe have a panel of experienced PvP players that they go to with their changes before making changes, so they can be discussed. You know, Wildcard kind of prides itself on its community and how well it involves itself with its community, but massive changes to PvP just, it seems to be like overnight decisions of some guys thought out there in the cloud. It is not good for the game. It is not good for the game. All it needs is to either have people who do play the game properly and as Wildcard expect people to play it, which is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and just consult them all on these things, and don't just test things. I know how Wildcard tests. I've been in part of this test group before. I've been in the early betas. You know, they release a new mechanic, they release some new dinos, they put it on a testing server, they give it to people to go and test, they go and test it, they try and do everything possible that they can to test that the thing works. And don't get me wrong, you know, massive props to the guys who do that. I know there are people out there testing that are just so dedicated to testing that everything works. What they can't and don't test, because they can't, is how this works in the PvP meta currently in the game. Now, I guess you could say, well, that's what the alpha testing is for. This game's well beyond alpha testing. It's a few weeks from release. They have such a huge player base. You can't just dick around with the balance and expect people not to be frustrated, annoyed, and really pissed off at your game. The main danger for me is that people get so annoyed that when the next big game comes out that's similar, people will leave Ark. And I think Ark can become the biggest game, if not ever. But I mean, not like against like a World of Warcraft, but like of its type, and big across all consoles. It's on all consoles, guys, at the moment, you know, current gen consoles. So yeah, I think that is obviously a massive problem, and they should definitely, if not somehow test it more in PvP scenarios, but just consult people who know what they're doing, consult people who do involve themselves in the game, because I understand they're a smallish studio and it's hard to test things on that scale, but it really needs to be done, in my opinion. It causes massive problems in the game. So on to my final and I guess most controversial point that I want to make. Now, I do flip-flop on this idea. I do sometimes think, yes, I should go with this. No, I shouldn't think this. But I think it's at the point where a wipe is needed on release. Now, a wipe is needed because of what I said in the beginning. The amount of duped crap in on official servers is unbelievable. Every single console, every big alpha tribe, like I say, if they don't dupe, they have access to all that gear because you raid people who do. It's completely messed up the balance of PvPing for anyone who actually wants to legitimately craft all their gear. You go up against people who have 285 damage everything and perfect armor everything, just just absolutely disposable. And it was never meant to be that way. Like, having that much disposable high-end loot was never meant to be that way. Even myself, I'm starting to find I'm racking up all kinds of weapons, picking up stuff from raids and just finding stuff on people. We've got some amazing blueprints that we got some fishing, so we have a load of 285 stuff as well. It doesn't seem right. Now, you can't wipe the servers without fixing the issues. Now, so obviously that also makes me think, will it ever change? Will they actually ever figure out how this duping is going on and do something about it? Because I'm sure they must know how everyone is doing it right now, because I know, and most people I talk to know who play, because word spreads quickly. So yeah, I just think that if they can fix it, it needs a wipe. Once fixed, on release day, wipe everything. I guess maybe that's a selfish thing for me to say. They could just release new servers, but if they're going to release new servers which are connected to the cluster, that's a problem. And also, you could also say, well, why don't you just try it on a smaller cluster or something like that? But then again, you're starting from like level 0. It's not the worst idea, but like, for it to be balanced again, for it to be fun again, I think they need to do that. And I don't say that lightly. I mean, obviously I'm, considering that would mean losing everything I've got, everyone I know, starting from again. But if everyone had a fresh start and they could fix that duping problem, imagine that. Day 1, Ark full release. Not only do they have a ton of extinction servers up and running, 100-man center, 70-man the island, 100-man Ragnarok, even some scorched ones, extinction servers where you can just PvP your heart out. Don't worry about the duping, don't worry about the salt, don't worry about cross-server transfers. Just get in there, build, have some bow and arrow fights in the first few days, get the long necks made, have some fights like that, try and race to get some bullet soakers and start raiding people the old-fashioned way rather than everyone flying blooming tech everywhere, that everyone's blooming duped every way and it's a right mess to get the element. I think it would be cool. But only if they can fix the problems of all the gears. However, I don't think they'll do this. I think if they were going to, they would have said it. They flip-flopped around it a little bit at the beginning, but then they came out and said, no, we're not resetting on release, because they thought obviously so many people would be annoyed with it, which is true, they would. But I honestly feel like it would be for the benefit of the game if the previous problems could be fixed. But will they ever be fixed? Can they be fixed? I don't know. If they can't, then Ark is going to lose out to the next game, which figures out how to deal with those problems, and then comes out, a similar game that comes out, has all those problems fixed, and doesn't have those issues. But I don't know. I guess Ark is almost a victim of its own success, because in the early days it wasn't like this, guys. You didn't get Ddosing on servers really, and you didn't get dupe gear, and yeah, it was a bit salty, but only as much as a PvP game would be. Not like the witch hunting that goes on now, and like the threats and stuff. It's just absolutely crazy. So let me know what you guys think about this. If you think that any of the points I've said are interesting, or that you think should be shared with the devs, don't forget to like this, share this with the devs. Potentially, I know that obviously I have some contact with them. It doesn't mean they're going to listen to me. They will definitely listen to me if you do a good show of numbers. Like if 1,000 people shared this with them and said there's some interesting points here, if you could check it out, then we would definitely get some traction. And I'm just trying to be your voice as much as I want to get my my voice out there. So if you want to join the discussion, if you want to get involved in my community and everything like that, obviously the Discord is linked in the description of the video. Absolutely great time over there. Everyone can interact with everyone. We can all have a chat. You can keep up to date with the videos, and you can keep up to date with whatever else is going on with me, and so on and so forth. I think that's it for now, guys. I've ranted on for long enough. I do hope you found this video interesting, and I'll see you all next time.